everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 807. Time to start our travel podcast. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, how's it going?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. Obviously back to regular programming in terms of the introduction. I had to do one by myself last episode.
I know.
So it's good to...
It was okay.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, I'll have to give Ollie some feedback.
Oh, well, no, Ollie didn't take part in the end.
No, I know, but I'll have to give Ollie some feedback on you because he always gives us the feedback.
I understand now.
We'll have to discuss how it was.
Yeah. All right. How was the hockey trip then?
Yeah, so we had our roller hockey national tournament out in California. It was fun. In the end, I was supposed to stay at the Airbnb with all the boys, but then ended up staying at a hotel, which was probably the better move because it sounded like it was an absolute disaster to the Airbnb with a lot of drinking and late nights, which I can't really do, and try and play any sort of competent hockey. But we did pretty well. We went 2-2 in the round robin to make the playoffs for the second straight year, which was fun. And it's kind of cool to at least accomplish that. And then we won our first round playoff game. So it's the first time we ever won the playoffs, at least won the first round, and then made it to the quarterfinals and had to play our quarterfinal game at 12:30 in the morning. So that was a little rough. The game was originally 11:50 p.m. and then they were running behind. So we ended up playing till 12:30 at night after playing the first round game at 11 a.m. that same day. So basically playing a game, sitting around for 12 hours and having to play another game. And we lost that game 3-2 in basically a just back and forth, super close game, really evenly matched. And unfortunately, I think they kind of just got one more lucky break than we did, and beat us. It was tough. It sucks to lose when you can actually win a game. Last year, we lost to a team that was definitely better than us. And this year, this team was not better than us. So that kind of sucks. But I don't think we would have made it past the next round anyway. So, but it was fun. It was a good tournament.
Sounds thrilling.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It always sucks to lose. Even when you're 40 years old, it's still super frustrating.
What's the realistic level of this tournament? What's the standard in the section that you're in? Because I know you've
So we're in the silver division. There's a silver, gold, and a platinum. So we're in the lowest of the three. For I guess the closest reference I can give would be we play usually against other universities have roller hockey programs. And we play usually against kids that were in the university roller program, but not probably the top 2 or 3 kids on that team, but the rest of the team. So the best of the best that would have played college roller hockey usually play in the platinum level. And then the others mix in between gold and silver. So that's kind of the level we're at. The biggest difference is most of the teams, the players are about 20 to 30 years old. That's the range. Our youngest kid is 24. We have one other kid under 20, and then the rest of our team is 38 to 48. So we are significantly older. That's the only disadvantage. So we play a much different style, I think, and I think that actually messes with a lot of teams. So the team we played that we beat in the playoffs, there was actually 3 University of Arizona roller hockey players on the team, and then their coach was the captain for U of A, and we know him really well. We play a lot with him when we were in Tucson. And he basically told this team, he's these guys are not going to play hockey you're used to. They're not going to cycle the puck. They're not going to try and slow it down. They're just going to be full speed on you at every turn. They're going to fight for every puck in the corner. They're going to just outgrind you. And basically he was and that's exactly what you guys did. And they just didn't fucking listen to me. And that's we beat them 2-1.
That's kind of, as a non-hockey player, right? That sounds counterintuitive that as you get older, I would have thought you would have slowed the pace of play down. Wouldn't that be more advantageous for you?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but in roller hockey, when you slow it down, it's basically what they'll do is they'll take the puck, kind of bring it back into their defensive zone, and then they just start literally like players just start kind of cycling around and around for anywhere from like 5 to 45 seconds until they finally find like a little gap where like you kind of try and commit to try and maybe like cut off a passing lane or do something. And then as soon as they see that little gap, they'll like pass the puck and then they're off. So it's quick. It's like really quick hockey, but they'll like take their time to settle down and just wait for like a tiny opening and then exploit it. Whereas we don't have that type of patience or that type of like style, and we'll just go full steam and try and force a turnover and then like get a turnover and just throw the puck towards the net and try and like smash one in. And that's kind of like we have two good roller hockey players and the rest of us are just either ice hockey players or people who just kind of have like a lot of like speed and can kind of just force turnovers.
So how many more years do you have left in you then?
Yeah, we've talked about this. So this tournament, the person who kind of is our captain, he said he wanted to get a medal this year, which would have meant that we had to have at least made the semifinals. We lost in the quarterfinals, which is the shitty part. And in a game like we honestly should have won. I said I just want to win a playoff game, which we did. So in my progression, I think next year I would like to see us medal. I don't know how many more years we have left to have a chance to medal before we start going downhill. Like I legitimately would say I probably have 3 more years where I think I'm just going to start to not be as good as I can be just because of age. So it's tough. There is like a 30 and over, a 40 and over, and a 50 and over. The problem with that is those are literally just the ex-pro roller players that usually use it as a warm-up for like the pro tournaments. So that's even harder. So I don't think we're going to be medaling in like the 30 or 40 and over anytime soon. So it's tough. I mean, there's 45 teams in our division. It's like it's packed, and I think sometimes you have to kind of get a lucky schedule sometimes. And you know, like there was 2 or 3 teams that were really really good and just got terrible schedules and kind of got put in the ship part of the bracket. So it is a lot of luck as well. We had one team that we demolished and we got lucky that we got to play them. They were one of the worst teams. So yeah, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 more years. I think next year is a big year. We're coming off a high. We had a playoff win. Everyone played pretty well. You know, I had those playoff games I played were probably some of the best hockey I've ever played in my life, surprisingly. So we'll see. One of the bigger issues is that second round playoff is always a late game. Like no matter what, it's going to be sometime between 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. And our team doesn't have the capacity to just go back to the Airbnb and relax. And that ultimately, I think, is what will kill us every year. Like there was a guy on 23 Michelob Ultras before we started that playoff game. That is not a good way for your leading scorer to be 2 12-packs of beer deep getting onto the rink. And I don't know if we're ever going to not have that.
If nothing else, it's a good excuse, right? It gives you the
I
ready-made
guess.
excuse.
Yeah, maybe that's why he does it.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but otherwise, I mean, yeah, it was fun. And then I will say, I know we're nothing if not a travel podcast. LAX airport could be hell on earth. That could be the worst airport with just the worst human beings combined in like the worst area in the world. It is absolute fucking hell. And I made the mistake. I didn't know that there's a direct flight from Minneapolis directly to the Orange County, the John Wayne airport, which is way better and it's closer to where we actually play. I didn't know that until I had already booked my flights. So I had to fly into LAX while a bunch of other people actually flew into John Wayne. And it's just a nightmare. Nothing about LAX is convenient. For a place that is like a tech hub, it's just fucking chaos how archaic some of the things at LAX are.
yeah, I mean, it's challenging when you're that big of an airport, though, right? It's hard to think of that many huge airports that are really a pleasant travel experience outside of Asia and the Middle East where they've built brand new airports and they spend ungodly sums of money on them. But if I think of any huge European airports or huge American airports, I'm not sure I enjoy the experience really in any of them. I mean, none
Yeah,
of them are pleasant.
it's brutal.
So
I mean, like just to get from my gate to the Enterprise rent-a-car to get my car took me almost 90 minutes. It's fucking insane. The buses, and the thing that drives me pretty nuts about LAX is you get a good combination of international visitors who don't really know what's going on. So they just pull the like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. Mixed with Californians who also have that same attitude of the like, I'm the most important person in the world. I need to get on this bus or I need to like get into this spot. So it's just, you have to literally fight your way to do anything. Like there was a line to get on the rental car bus and at least 15 people tried to just come running up and like cut the line just because, well, I have to get on this bus. I have to get my rental car. It's like, yeah, we're all on the bus. Like we're all in line to get our fucking rental car. Like we're in the exact same boat, buddy. Like I'm not getting on the rental car bus to fucking take a trip around the rental car lane. You know, like
it might
I'm
be
not
that
just
might be your
sightseeing.
that might be your first bit of LA sightseeing.
Yeah.
This is
Like,
where
what do you think I'm
this is
doing?
where John Wayne rented his first ever car.
So that is like, and people will just park wherever. Like there's constantly people blocking the bus lanes to pick up, you know, like passengers. It's just chaos. I fucking hate that airport. It's a
Well,
mess.
now I'm going to give you that opportunity because I know you said that you also had your bag lost. And to
Yeah.
further damage your relationship with Delta and ensure that they are never a sponsor of this podcast, what's going on with your bags with Delta and what's going on with your relationship with Delta? Because you're such a Delta fanboy, but this is multiple trips in a row in which they have definitely delivered subpar experience.
Yes, this is 2 trips in a row. So when I checked in my bags, we had 4 total bags to check in because I had 2 hockey bags, my bag, and another bag. And I think when we checked them all in, supposedly the bag was just left at the check-in. So they never put it on the thing. And I don't know what that means. I don't know how you like take a bag from a customer, then don't put it on the little belt that goes behind. I think what happened is I think she forgot to put the tag on, and then probably other customers went by. And then when you don't put the tag on after a while, you don't know what that bag was. So they probably just left it there waiting for someone to kind of claim it. That's kind of what my guess would be. But when I got back to Minneapolis and they looked it up, she was like, yeah, it looks like it was at the check-in. It never left. I was like, wow, great. Thanks. Like, how does that fucking help me? So it's not the biggest deal. I don't really get super angry about getting your bag delayed. I think people freak out a little too much about that.
Well,
It'll come. It'll come today, and that's not the end of the world. That it's like a day late.
So, but you're lucky it happened with you on the return leg. That would have been
Even
a
if it
much
didn't,
bigger.
it would have just been one day. It's usually one day they can get it to you.
It's not always just one day. It's not. And if you're on vacation and
Great excuse to go shopping.
yeah, with the $25 they give you to replace essentials or whatever, you know, and especially if you have children with you or other people and you've got multiple clothes, or if you're going to imagine you were going to Ascot and your suit's gone. What do you, what, that's,
Hey, new
I
suit
think,
time, baby.
yeah, well, you probably need
Marks
one.
and Spencer.
So that would be an unripped suit that would be Delta doing you a favor. But
you know what? Delta losing that bag to Ascot might be the greatest favor they can do because I can get a new bag and a new suit.
Yeah. No, you need a new everything that's both that bag and everything inside of it. So you should openly encourage them to not tag that one.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll put in a complaint and I'll see what that gets me. I did complain about our last trip, and like I said, originally they gave me a $200 credit, and then they gave me an additional $500 credit.
So
for that
700
one.
total
On the last one, yeah.
But here's the interesting thing.
Which paid for the flight that I had.
Do you think they gave you that because you are a loyal Delta customer, or do you think they would have given that, given the level of disruption that you experienced, would anyone have received that type of compensation?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. So I got like a personal phone call from like a Delta rep after I sent an email, which I will say previously when I didn't have that status and I would email Delta, they would just email back and say like, there's nothing we can do, or like, here's a little credit. So I don't know if it's just literally someone calling you and being kind of saying like, what can we do to resolve this situation for you? We saw you complained, how can we help? Um, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Like how you
Let me,
said there, I got a personal phone call, setting it up as if it was about to be the CEO of Delta. It's just someone in a help
it
center.
was. It was
It's
Bob
just,
Delta.
yeah. Yeah.
Robert Delta called me.
Well, speaking of travel complaints, and I know I often use this podcast as a medium through which I can bash the United States, but I'm going to have a mini little. I went to the Oasis concert on
Yeah. Now we have to talk
over
about
the
your
weekend.
trip because we are apparently a travel podcast.
I want to use this as an opportunity to fire
Bash
a warning
Oasis.
shot. Now, across the bowels of the people of England, the United Kingdom generally, but mostly England, on trains. I took a lot of trains this weekend. I took a train from I took the Eurostar to London, then London to Liverpool, then Liverpool to Manchester, and then I was heavy on the train travel. English people, stop taking phone calls on trains. You can't just. It is not your private office for the afternoon while you travel somewhere, nor is it a good opportunity for you to chat with your friend to kill some time. If you want to take a phone call, have the respect for everybody else and go and stand somewhere else on the train. But don't just sit in your seat and have a 15-minute phone call that we all have to listen to on our journey.
See, now this is what's interesting. And I think we might have actually had a similar conversation about this. If it wasn't on podcast, it was definitely off podcast. What is the difference of someone having a conversation with someone on the phone versus if their friend was just right across the seat from them?
Two things. One is definitely you tend to be louder on the phone. So you will hear it more because people speak up. And in particular, you have people who are then apologizing for background noise and getting louder as they do it, and apologizing for bad reception and getting louder as they do it. So, which is a simple solution. Don't have the phone call on a train. But and then I think also it's like, yeah, I'm not expecting total silence on a train, but if I'm hearing you, if I'm just listening to you and your friend talking, then either I can be nosy and I can just listen to your full conversation. It is what it is. Or it's just accepted background noise of you have also paid for your ticket. But to have to listen to one side of a conversation for an extended period of time is so annoying. And British people seem so comfortable with this. And people talk about the French being rude or having no respect for sort of order and organization. And yeah, British people way ahead of the game when it comes to, say, for example, queuing, which, over the weekend, I had to do a lot of queuing, and I'd much rather be doing that in the UK than in France. But
About in France, they love a good queue.
Now they get
Actually,
attracted to.
I dropped that joke this weekend. We walked by a place and there was just a random line, and then we're like, "What is that for?" And it ended up being for, real quick, it's a little side story. We went to a brewery, and across the brewery was like just a little place, and there was just a line. I'm like, what the fuck is this line for? And it looked like it was an art gallery. It wasn't. It was it was an artist who collects vintage photo booths, aka photo booths that you and I grew up on, that would be like in a bar or something like that. But now this generation doesn't really know what they are. And you just pay $5 and you go and you use the photo booth to print out a photo booth photo. And it's like a big thing. Like, this guy is a genuine artist and this is his thing. And there was a queue. And someone would have been like, what is that queue for? And I was like, I don't know. There must be a lot of fucking French people in this neighborhood.
Well, if you want to know, there's a really famous photo booth in Paris that people queue for like an hour and a half at a time. And it is one of those ones from the 70s. And the reasons people queue is because they think that the tone of the image is so good that it's the best picture you'll ever have taken of you. And just a standard photo booth from 40 years ago. There's nothing special.
No, this room was basically the size of like like half of a bedroom with 6 photo booths in it. It was just lined with photo booths, and you waited in line because we did it. We were like, what the fuck is going on? We got to see what this is. We went when there was no line. Like, we're like, oh, there's no line. Let's go. And a few of us went and checked it out. But that's all it was. And you just paid $5. The big innovation was the photo booth had the tap like connected to it. So instead of putting in the dollar bills, they had it so you could just tap. And as soon as you tapped, it started taking the photos. But like, he had to explain to us, he's like, so what's going to happen is like a light's going to come on, and then a photo is going to be taken, and then 3 more are going to be like, and then afterwards I was like, so it's just a photo booth? And he's like, yeah. Like an old school one. And I was like, yeah, okay. So like a photo booth. Like, I've been in these so many times. Like, I don't get what it is.
Don't people still use those for, say, passport photos and stuff? Don't you? Isn't that still, no? People just take their own?
That was never a thing in the US, really.
No.
Because for passport photos, you always used to have to go to like a store to get them done, usually.
Okay. Because that's the only time I would still use one is I need an ID image, and I'll still go and take one here in like a metro station, and I'll still go through that process.
Yeah. But we've seen them at bars sometimes. Like when we took that trip to either Vegas or California, there was that one that we did that Olivier thought was like so cool. So maybe the people do like them. I don't know.
I go to a bar here that has one, and it's popular. And I can get that on a night out. It's a kind of cool thing to go into a photo booth and take a photo. Yeah. I'm not like shitting on the photo booth itself, but like the one in Paris that people literally wait 90 minutes for just because they claim that blows my mind. And that's just because a couple of influencers have gone there at some moment in time and told the world how incredible these photos are, and it's just an old photo booth.
Yep. It was strange, but so UK people don't get off the phone on trains.
I think they're a big phone people in general. I think they love phone calls, but the number of times every train I was on was just disrupted by people having extended phone calls. And look, I'm not saying if someone calls you really rapidly and you pick it up at your seat and just go, hey, I'm on the train, I'll give you a call in 20 minutes. Fine. You don't need to necessarily get up and just to do that. But don't take the phone call and then speak. You have a 15-second window to end that phone call. Otherwise, you're annoying. Either you get up or you end it.
I would give them a little more. I would give you like 2 to 3 minutes because I think here's a problem I think with the UK trains is that they actually, surprisingly, a lot of them have good Wi-Fi, so people will take that opportunity to work on the train the entire time. And if you get a quick work call, that's like a 2-minute call. I'm okay with that.
No.
But you're on your computer. Maybe you have to answer something on the computer.
I don't care. Then you say,
hey, 2 minutes. No, 2 minutes is too much.
I'll Slack you. I'll send you an email. I'll do whatever. But you don't. It is not your traveling office, because you know where that system breaks down. That's cool. You're the only one who's doing it. It works.
There's someone
next to you. What if we all do it? What if we all take our 2 to 3 minute call? And what if we all do it at the same time? Yeah. Good luck with those. You know, that's where the system falls apart. So you either get up or you don't take the call. Those are your two options.
Should we do a podcast on the train?
We may as well. I think people around me were, based on this. I think to and from Ascot in 2 weeks, we may as well just have a live podcast. That would at least
how we up the traveling podcast. We literally travel on the podcast. Oh, this is great. This is it. We've got it.
That would be more entertaining.
5 years. We've got it.
That would be more entertaining for people because at least they get to listen to the full podcast. It's not us calling into the other person, so you're only getting to listen to half the podcast. We could go and sit in different cars on the train, and then
really connect with people.
Yeah, and then if they want to listen to the full podcast, they got to download it because we need the downloads. We do not. There's no benefit of the free just the listener.
Oh, that's great. I love this idea. All we do is we get on any train that's 2 hour plus. And then we just do a podcast on it. And it could be anywhere in the world. That's our gimmick.
Yeah. That would be, to be honest with you, it's a great concept for a podcast. But that's a lot of time to be invested, and we don't have the energy
a lot of
to do
money
that.
Where it's like this week we're in Belarus taking the really nice 3 hour ride.
You could probably get sponsored for that really easily. to just at least get free travel for someone to sit you on a train. The downside is I don't know how many trains just want you disrupting everyone else's journey. That would be the
We have to buy a
ultimate.
whole car
Yeah, probably sometimes.
or like half a car. So how was Oasis?
It was awesome. It was genuinely awesome. I'm not the biggest Oasis fan in the world. I like the hits. Yes, in the 90s, I enjoyed the kind of big albums that came out. We're probably slightly on. This is the interesting thing. A lot of young people there compared, to us in our late 30s. A lot of people in their early 20s. So that was a little bit of the surprise, and people considerably older for sure. But we're probably right on the young end of being kind of real Oasis fans for those early albums, in the early to mid 90s. It's not in your kind of prime music listening age. You're sort of discovering music to a certain degree, but you're not becoming a huge fan. But so I went expecting them to sound kind of shit because they're in their 50s, and also it was in a park, so any open air concert I'm always a little skeptical as to what the quality of the sound is going to be like.
It's in Manchester, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they sounded good. They sounded really good. They played for 2 hours. They played pretty much all the hits. The atmosphere in the crowd was awesome. It was 80,000 people, and you are just in a park. But
so standing the whole time.
Standing the whole time.
Now, was there like a opening band that you also were there for, or did you come in right as Oasis was playing?
No, we got there pretty early. So we got there. The Oasis was due to go on at 8:00 or 8:30, I think it was, and we got there at like 5. So there were two.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
that's a lot of standing.
But there was a lot of queuing and there was a lot of hassle getting there. So, I mean, there were bars, and we sat on some sort of park benches set up we kind of skipped we could hear the opening acts because obviously it was just in a park, but we were not watching them. And had a really good conversation. Said I would give a shout out we spoke to a couple random people, but had a really nice conversation with a father and son duo from Ireland who were coming for it, while the son lives in
was it Aidan and Joseph O'Brien?
No. That would have been fortunate, but no, it was really nice to just kind of representative of the kind of atmosphere there. So William and Brian, who we spoke with for like an hour, maybe a little bit more, about various things, but everyone was super relaxed, super friendly. Even when you were watching the concert, one of my big fears was obviously just either people pushing a little bit or feeling cramped for space, or just people being too competitive over trying to get closer or trying to get a better view. And you had your own space. If you wanted to try and move forward over time, which we did, you could kind of gradually weave your way through. People were very respectful of like, oh no, if you want to be nice about going a little bit forward and taking that empty spot, go for it. So we started almost at the very, very back. And by the time the concert was over, we'd moved sort of 20, 30% through the crowd to a pretty good viewing angle. But yeah, no, it was awesome. And I've got to say this, the atmosphere in Manchester itself was really good. Like the city has just been taken over by Oasis, and it's hard to imagine. And I was speaking with other people there, but also just sort of thinking about it. They had the store. They kind of done this
like a pop-up store.
A pop-up store, but with Adidas, so it's a huge store. Then every bar, every restaurant had like Oasis themed things going on. It was only Oasis playing. They had little puns, everywhere. So like neon signs with Oasis themes all over the place. It felt like you were just in a pop-up Oasis city, honestly.
That's cool.
And it's hard to imagine a different band in a different city nowadays who could give you that same type of experience. Like, I think Bruce Springsteen would maybe be the closest, but then in New Jersey, you like don't have a city large enough to kind of give you the
No.
Manchester experience. But like that's the only
Unless
other
he
thing.
played in Asbury Park for like a week. That would
Yeah,
be the only
but
thing. But
but then
Asbury
even
Park and Manchester, not comparable.
not quite the same size. But
No.
I was trying to think of like someone who you are so closely linked to the place that they're from and so loved by that area who could just become like a Comic-Con for their band just by being there. And Springsteen was maybe the only one, but you just don't have a huge New Jersey city that he could take over.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, now we've had a few friends that have gone, and everyone had said the concert is really, really good and that they play really well. And that I think I think that was everyone's biggest fear, was that either they wouldn't take it super seriously or they would quickly burn out, or it just wouldn't sound that great because they haven't played together in forever. But by all accounts, it sounds like it's a phenomenal show.
Yeah, and look,
I'm really glad that all of my friends went and no one texted me and asked if I wanted to join them.
you couldn't have
So
gone this
it's
weekend
great.
anyway.
It's
So
great.
even if I'd had a spare ticket for you, you couldn't have come. But the if you want, there's a possibility we know someone selling tickets for the weekend you're in London. So
I got plans.
you could go to a Wembley show if you really wanted to. But I'm very happy that I saw, and I said this to former co-host Sam. I twisted the knife a little bit on him. He went to the first concert in Cardiff. I said I was super happy to get to see them in Manchester. Like I think that's if you were going to go for the Oasis experience, I got the most complete version of that. And to see what they mean to that city and the people there and what that city also means to them through that concert, I think was very, very cool. And yeah, and it was basically a huge karaoke session. I'll be honest, it's a lot of just 80,000 people singing songs that they love.
Yeah.
So, except from when one of the slightly deeper cuts gets played, and then there was like more silence while people were clearly acknowledging that they didn't know those particular songs. But yeah, really good experience. Beers weren't super expensive. It was $6.50 for a pint.
Oh, wow.
And it was
Reasonable.
easy. Yeah, it was easy to get. Like it took, I don't know, 3-4 minutes to get a beer each time. So you flew through. There were definitely some people at the beer stand who were giving out some deals for reasons. First guy I bought beer from gave me half price on the beers. Second guy I got beers from, I bought 2, gave me 3. So I don't know what was going on there, but there was definitely some deals to be had if you were friendly as you were buying them.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, and I saw it. Speaking of the sing-alongs, I saw some videos, and it must be nice to be over 6 foot, because I saw videos from someone who was definitely under 6 foot, and all I saw were other cameras. And then I saw your videos, and it was like, and when I saw one of yours, I was like, oh man, is Eddie the only one filming right now?
Yeah. No, it is an advantage to be over 6 foot and to then be able to lift your camera above
Yeah.
and kind of clear through the crowd. But I also did try and selectively choose moments when there were not as many
Film the
people
whole
there.
thing.
Yeah. Well, that was the annoying thing. You had people in front who would film an entire song. What are you going to do with
We've
that
talked
video?
about this on the we definitely talked about this on the podcast, where it's like you're filming an entire song or even the entire concert. Like, what are you going to do with this?
I don't, because the thing is, yeah, I was doing my 10-15 second clip most of the time. Yeah, that's a little bit of a memory. You can send it to people. If you send me a 90-second song, like clip of a song, I'm not watching unless you tell me you won't believe what happens at the end. There's no reason for me to.
I have to clickbait you.
Yeah. You got to BuzzFeed me on the video that you sent me. But no, it was a really good experience. I'm happy that I went. I was a little bit skeptical kind of going into it to a certain extent. I spent too much money on Oasis gear. They got me.
Plus, you like Adidas though too.
I do, but I went thinking like, I don't think I'm going to buy anything. I'm not a
What are
big
you talking
band.
about? You're a huge merch guy. Why are you still convincing yourself otherwise?
But I'm not a huge band t-shirt guy. You know what I mean? I don't wear. So I went in thinking I'll maybe buy 1 t-shirt. I bought 2 t-shirts. I bought a magnet.
And a guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. And I won an auction for a 1-on-1 drink with Noel Gallagher. But yeah, it was good fun though. It was good fun.
And then I have to say, whenever I see you're traveling without me, you seem to always go to really nice restaurants, and then
Oh yeah.
and then when you travel with me, you're like, let's go to fucking Papa John's. So I
Yeah,
don't
we
know
went.
what the fuck that's all about. I don't know why all of a sudden you become a fucking food connoisseur when I'm not around, and then when I'm around, you're just like, let's order KFC at 4 in the morning. That's our dinner tonight.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant, a super nice restaurant in Liverpool called Manifest, and I will say it's one of the best meals I've had in a long, long time. Like start to finish, every course we had the sort of set menu, the chef's choice menu, and it was really, really good. Very friendly. It was awesome. Cocktails were really good. The wine pairing was really, really nice. The best oysters, they did these like poached oysters in the best oyster I've ever had. So it was awesome. I would go back there in a heartbeat for sure.
Oh, I'm sure if we go back to Manchester, we'll just get Papa John's instead.
Liverpool, Liverpool.
Oh, doesn't matter.
Stayed in Liverpool. Did the day for the Manchester for the Oasis gig, like went to Manchester in the day, but only stayed in Liverpool. Which yeah was an experience for sure.
Did you
Got
see
so,
Jack Grealish? He was there.
I didn't. I did see that very embarrassing video of him drunkenly speaking to a fan afterwards.
I love City fans.
Yeah, that's not a great look. Someone's got to take him. Someone's got to get control of him. It's sort of endearing, but there's a version of Jack Grealish when he's about 50 years old that's going to be quite sad to look at. You know, I know he's making more money than we can dream of, and what a wonderful life. And I would love to be in the VIP section at that concert, just getting absolutely wrecked, and then having people tell you how much they love you on your way out of the concert venue. But still, it's not a great look.
I guess we can use that transition to talk about European football, or actually, I guess not just European football, but football in general, and talk about the Club World Cup. And I will start by reading the ESPN headline that popped up yesterday, and you tell me what you think of this headline.
Okay.
Club World Cup triumph shows Chelsea can win the Premier League.
No chance. No chance. I don't know how what they achieved over the last couple of weeks would make anyone think that they're Premier League title contenders. Don't get me wrong. As listeners of the podcast will know from last season, I think they have some good core components within that squad. And I think, they could theoretically compete for the title, but the success in the Club World Cup does not change my opinion at all in terms of what their chances are for the like let's look at who they beat. So
Let me also read to you what the manager said. One of the quotes said, "I think it will become as important as the Champions League."
oh God.
The coach said after the game, and we value it as much as winning the Champions League.
Well, financially, I'm sure they do. So there's no doubt about that. In terms of significance to anyone else, I don't think so. But I mean, look, so they beat LAFC 2-0. They lost to Flamengo in the group stages, and then they beat Esperance Tunis 3-0. That was their group stage victories. Then they beat Benfica 4-1 in extra time, which, aside from their win against PSG, is the only kind of really notable one, I would say. Then they beat Palmeiras 2-1, Fluminense 2-0 in the semifinals, and then PSG 3-0 in the final. And don't get me wrong, the manner of the victory against PSG was surprising. I loved that more just from the perspective of PSG's bubble being burst, because we spent the last month or two with everyone talk. I had to listen to people on Sky, on ESPN, on everywhere, how this was the start of this new PSG dynasty. Are they unbeatable? Are they the heavy favorites to win the Champions League again? Is Ousmane Dembele the best player we've ever seen? Just the level of love that they were suddenly getting, kind of on the back of a nice Champions League run and some decent results in glorified preseason friendly competition, people were going overboard, and hopefully this puts, because I literally listened to someone on ESPN talking about how they should be odds-on favorites to win the Champions League, because not only are they the best side in Europe, but they also can rest all of their players for League On matches so they can totally focus on European competition. And that's what City, Real Madrid, Barcelona can't do. Therefore, they should be odds on favorites to win the Champions League. Like, it's such an outrageous statement that I couldn't believe it as I was listening to it. But look, it's a stupid competition. No one really cares about it aside from the players getting nice little, cool trip for them. And I'm sure there's some nice bonuses that they get. And obviously the clubs from a financial windfall perspective care about it a lot, but it is never going to be something that people really, won't be able to compare it to the Champions League for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the takeaway maybe is that, Cole Palmer seems to be a little bit back on form. He had a great start to the Premier League and then kind of cooled down in that second half as soon as Eddie predicted them to potentially have a run at winning the Premier League. So, if anything, he looked pretty dominant in that match and shows that, maybe once the new season starts, he can kind of keep this form and literally take over matches, which I think you're going to have him do if they want to have a chance. So, I mean, even that pass he made was perfect. That was so nice.
No, look, Cole Palmer's great. They have so much talent in that side, especially from an attacking perspective, and they're so young that Chelsea at some point will probably figure it out in the next season or two. Could it be this season? Maybe, but at some point it will go right. And the financial windfall they'll get from this tournament, and now how that allows them to further manipulate the sort of financial fair play rules. Great,
Yeah,
great.
spending $1 billion wasn't enough yet.
No, and what a wonderful representation of what modern football is, that we watched a final between a state-owned team who get this credit for being plucky underdogs. I mean, they only spent about 500 million euros to put together this current team, not thinking historically, but literally the players they put on the pitch for the Champions League final was 500 million euros. What plucky underdogs they are, owned by us, can just spend sovereign wealth on all of their transfers and have no limits in terms of what wages they can offer. Good for them to get even more money from this tournament, up against a club that's owned by a hedge fund that also then sort of manipulates every little bit of financial regulation possible. I mean, just it summarizes the state of European and world football perfectly, and just shows you why everyone else is just absolutely fucked, because these clubs are just going to keep coming up with nonsense ways to make more money so that they can then put financial fair play rules in place that stop anyone else from challenging them. And then that's going to be fair. Like, wouldn't Lyon have loved to have been PSG in the Club World Cup, this summer, and then not be relegated, because he could have just made up money that they could have put into their accounts. But yeah, other than that, enjoyable, I guess. I don't know. Who cares? The only thing that was fun, the only thing that I really will remember from this Club World Cup is probably the PSG bubble being burst, and to a certain extent, especially because part of it was what nice guys they are, and then you had Luis Enrique losing his mind at the end of the final. So he went from this sort of lovable guy to maybe not quite so nice. Cole Palmer riding a scooter around Times Square. That was another highlight for me, just seeing him do that as a weird tourist move. And then his reactions to Donald Trump being on the stage for the trophy celebration.
I mean, that's going to be the defining moment of this tournament. Is going to be the look he has when Donald Trump won't leave the stage, and he's like, "What is he doing?"
Here's the thing:
his face was great the entire time. Like,
yeah.
I loved as they were lifting the trophy, he's still just looking at Trump, being like, "Why the fuck is this guy still here?" And I don't know if it's just. I mean, we talked about how off podcast about how some people say he's actually like pretty smart and clever. I don't know if this is him just being so genuinely confused as to the situation, or if it's more of a like, is this guy fucking for real? It could be either one. I don't know, but either way, it was priceless.
There's a lot of confused Chelsea players on the stage, and look, I'm not a big Donald Trump fan. That's an understatement. And I think a lot of stuff he's doing is pretty awful. And it's easy to look at that. I gotta say, there is almost a sort of cute element, though, to the way it's just this old man getting swept up in the celebrations of a team. He looks genuinely happy as they're bouncing around, and you can tell that he kind of wants to bounce with them there for a second. And that's it was somewhat endearing for an otherwise a complete monster, but it was still a moment of just, oh, look, it looks like your grandfather's sort of suddenly found himself in a group of party goers that he shouldn't be part of and is sort of doing shots at a bar and then is turning around to you and going to say, that was the greatest night of my life. It made me feel 25 again. And that's sort of what that looked like with Donald Trump.
Yeah, it was funny. Palmer's face. That's gonna stay for a while. I mean, it was all over my Instagram. It was pretty funny. So I guess the other bit. Go ahead.
Well, they're now going to have to really clearly tell Donald Trump ahead of the World Cup, right? That this is not his thing, that he doesn't get to present the trophy and then celebrate with the winning. He doesn't become an honorary member of the team because the tournament is hosted in the United States.
Yeah, we'll see if that works or not. I guess the other part of football we can discuss is the women's Euros. Have you watched any of those matches? So England just thrashed Wales 6-1, which was probably more enjoyable than watching the Club World Cup final. Have you watched any of the matches yet? I know England actually have a tough group with being in the same group as France, but I'm sure both of them will advance. But still unfortunate to be with one of the better clubs.
It's done. The group stages are over. So
that's right. They're done now. Yeah. That was the last one.
Yeah, it starts. Norway now play Italy, Sweden play England, Spain play Switzerland, and France play Germany. So it's quite a tough match. Sweden are quite good. So it's not the easiest of quarterfinals for England as defending champions. Yeah, I've watched 2 of England's matches in the group stages. So, and a couple of the others, mostly, if I've been out in a bar, they've had them on. So yeah, that was, there's been some good matches there. I think it's tough for the women's Euros in the group stages because it does feel a little bit like where men's football was, say 20, 30 years ago, where the disparity between the good teams and the bad teams is so huge that in the group stages you do get those 6-1 wins, 7-1 win. You kind of teams just absolutely demolish the other sides, and that's not so entertaining.
Well, at the rate that the World Cup's going, it's kind of like what the World Cup is like now for the men's side when they have so many teams now that you're going to see some of those now, as they keep adding more and more teams into the and
that isn't me shitting on women's football because that's exactly what you used to see in men's football in the 80s and 90s is just that you would get in a group with either in the qualifiers or even a weird team would sneak through into the actual tournament itself, and you would just get one of the big nations just brushing them aside, and that sort of doesn't happen quite so frequently anymore because of how many professional players and the kind of professionalism within the national teams as well. But yeah, no, it will be interesting to see. I mean, there's some interesting matchups in the quarterfinals, and there could be some really good semifinals, and definitely if it could be England against France or Germany or Spain in the final, then that would be really compelling. I mean, I'm sure from a neutral perspective, a Spain-France semifinal and England against, likely, it's hard to call out of Norway, Italy, but, those are some good matchups. In other big sporting news from the weekend, we obviously had the Wimbledon finals, hot on the heels of our interview with Taro Daniel last week. So a very tennis-themed weekend for us. Sinner managed to avenge his defeat in the final of Roland Garros. Lost the first set, but came back to win pretty comfortably, 3-1 against Alcaraz. And the day before, Swiatek had won Wimbledon as well, which there are some people calling it. I had the conversation with Taro Daniel about the doping issues with both Swiatek and Sinner, and there are people saying like, what an awful weekend for tennis to have Wimbledon won by 2 players who definitely got lenient treatment when it came to steroid usage.
Yeah. In the end, I think a lot of people were hoping for another one of the classic Alcaraz Sinner matchups that we saw previously, but I think this one Sinner handled it way more comfortably after the first set. I think he kind of actually settled down a little, and especially set 3 and 4, he really took care of business there. And
I was worried for him because he obviously went that break up in the first set, gave away the break, and then got broken to lose the
instantly,
set.
yeah.
And I was worried for him there that on the heels of the Roland Garros collapse, that this was just going to sort of slide away from him. But, so I'm pleased for him to that he did bounce back. And obviously a lot of people post Roland Garros had spoken about the potential for maybe he'll never really recover from this. And 4 weeks later, he's won another Grand Slam. But
Yeah.
so all's forgotten now, I guess.
Do you think we're gonna have another rematch for the U.S. Open?
I mean, it's hard to kind of pick anybody else to make it. Like Djokovic feels like the only person who can possibly compete with the two of them at the moment. And then even Djokovic, you just see him in a 5-set match. His age seems to tell. And I mean, he spoke about it after his exit. I think the big issue for him, he almost needs to drop further in the rankings so that he can play one of them earlier in the tournament, because he's probably hurt by the fact that he's going to play them in a semifinal, at which stage he has, nearly 2 weeks of tennis in his legs. He'll be a little bit more fatigued. And to have any real chance against them, he probably needs to almost be up against them first, second round. And so he'd benefit from being 15
dropping
seed.
in the rankings.
Yeah. And maybe that's what he needs to do, is play fewer tournaments, have his ranking be hurt as a result, be a lower seed, and then from there try and be able to take on one of them in an early round, and then try and kind of cruise through the latter stages if he can, until he then has to play one of the other ones in the final. It's hard to manipulate, and he still faces challenges throughout the tournament. And look, it's Dimitrov probably would have beaten Sinner in the quarterfinals had he not torn his pec when he was 2 sets up.
Oh,
So, that
was brutal.
Yeah. So it's easy again, like you kind of see the end of the tournament and go like, obviously it's always going to be these two, but Sinner was nearly knocked out against Dimitrov. Djokovic probably then beats Dimitrov, even if Dimitrov is perfectly healthy. So then you would have had a Djokovic-Alcaraz final. Maybe that's a better matchup for Djokovic on grass than Sinner is. But apart from those three, it's difficult to see who else can really seriously challenge them.
Yeah, the Dimitrov injury was unfortunate. I mean, he's dating Isa Gonzalez, so I think he's doing okay, but it's still a tough loss.
It's just sad for him too, right? Like he seemed so sort of heartbroken and affected by it.
Yeah.
Because obviously he struggles with injuries, and you just know he's also getting older. You've not got that many opportunities left. And this was a good chance to kind of really get to, the late stages of a tournament where he probably has his best chance based on the surface. So, that's a shame. Other sporting news, we got the Tour de France fully underway. So Ollie and I have been enjoying our Tour de France betting and our Tour de France watching. I think I've fully converted him to being a Tour de France fan at this stage. So that's been good. It's interestingly poised, with Pogačar sort of looking best placed in those kind of GC contenders, but at the same time not having the strongest team around him. So the next, we're going into week 2 now. It could be an interesting finish.
Yeah, I haven't watched much Tour de France except that opening stage. With all the traveling and stuff, it's tough, but I now have the channels that it's on, so maybe I'll watch a little more of it.
There we go. Other sporting news. We're obviously getting closer and closer to the NFL coming back, and when we will start doing our full NFL previews. I did like that Kirk Cousins managed to grab some headlines last week, speaking about the fact that had he known that the Atlanta Falcons were going to draft a quarterback the year that he's, as he signed for them in free agency, that he would not have signed for them, and that he would have preferred to stay in Minnesota and compete for a place in Minnesota over moving to Atlanta to compete for a place there. That he was very happy with the Vikings, and that had he known that was the situation, then he would have stayed with them.
Yeah, it is. I think that is kind of unfortunate. That does kind of suck. I get where he's coming from. Part of me says, well, you've once again weaseled your way into a massive contract for a quarterback who's probably made more money than any other, way more money than any other quarterback of his level will ever have made, probably. Um, but at the same time, it does kind of suck to be brought into a team thinking you're going to be the starter and then instantly kind of having to switch that mindset a little bit. And I agree. I'm sure once you start establishing roots somewhere, it is always much nicer to stay with an organization that you know the people, you know the players, you know the city, your family probably knows the area a little better. So that does kind of suck. If you're going to have to compete anyway, you'd probably want to compete somewhere where you're more comfortable. But at the end of the day, I think that's just the sport, and you're still made a ton of money doing it. So
It is, but I guess it's fair to think of it like any other normal contract. Like if you were accepting any new job, I mean,
yeah,
you've recently accepted a new job. Imagine if you turned up and then they said, "Hey, actually, you know what? We've also
yeah,
brought
split
someone
this
else
office.
in to do exactly the same thing that you're doing. And whichever one of you can get more grants over the next 6 months, you get to take the lead." And the other, like, yeah, you'll still get your salary and all the benefits are the same and we still like you and maybe in the future we'll use you more, but that's it. You would feel a little bit like you'd been missold in terms of the opportunity that you were being given. So yeah, he makes a ton of money and it's easy to not be sympathetic to athletes because of the amount of money that they make, but he was going to make a lot of money anywhere
Yeah.
and doesn't really need more money, or at least hopefully doesn't really need more money at this stage. So his decision to keep playing isn't purely a financial one.
Real quickly, just because this popped into my head because I thought of Kirk Cousins and I thought of Washington Commanders. We recently saw the, what was it, 10 years later, 11 years later, pick of Alex Smith's leg. We said that in our group chat. It is crazy that that guy actually got back on the field after that injury because that leg looks, and this is, I'm not saying this in any disrespect, that leg looks horrific.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that he got back on the field, A, in the sense that his leg can function well enough given how it looks, and B, that having gone through that, you would even consider doing it again.
Yeah.
That would scare me. I mean, I just couldn't. And maybe you feel like you have to because then that will reduce the sort of PTSD and trauma that you deal with as a result of that type of injury. That if you can get back on the field, you're sort of getting back on the horse and you can move forward with all elements of your life. But I would not. There's At that stage, I don't think there's enough money an NFL team could pay me to get back onto a field.
Yeah. I mean, credit to Alex Smith, man. That just shows the level of, I mean, he's got balls. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and he's winning
He could be the toughest fucking NFL player we've ever seen.
in the professional athlete contest of grossest leg. I mean, he's way ahead of Tiger Woods.
Oof.
That's
What's, because what's crazy is when it first happened, obviously, the documentary came out and you saw it, and it was like, I think half the population almost couldn't even look at it or watch when they were showing the clips. But as someone who's like been around those types of things and you see those things, you'd expect that over time it would start to kind of get more back to normal, kind of heal a little bit. And supposedly it's healed. Like he doesn't have issues with it. But the way the surgery was, it'll never, like, the anatomy of the leg will never
yeah,
look the same. And
the muscle's just gone basically
it's
in certain
crazy.
parts.
It's crazy that 10 years later, it still looks just as bad.
Yeah, it looks super gross for sure. I mean, I would not be happy if I was eating my meal and Alex Smith was sitting next to me in shorts. That would not be.
I mean,
I would have to look away. That would not. It is a really gross look, but all credit to him for.
yeah, guy's a warrior.
Yeah.
Talk about Kevin Winslow Jr.
Yes.
Here's a warrior.
And as an update on a topic that we'd spoken about a couple of episodes ago, I know we did speak about the NBA betting scandal. And I had seen a few updates in terms of some more details as to that could slightly explain how this betting scandal had come to be. So last time we spoke about this with Malik Beasley and the sort of videos that had implied that maybe he was either betting on games or at least helping to fix the outcomes of games. Part of our position, I think quite reasonably, was why would you do this as an NBA player? You make so much money. It would be hard to think of how you could possibly. He's earned over $60 million just through NBA contracts alone. So what would be the incentive for him to risk his career for a betting, kind of with that type of scandal? Turns out that he owes over $8 million to various people, including he owed $5.8 million to a company that he had taken a loan out for when he'd originally got drafted. So I think this is not uncommon for like athletes take loans against future earnings so they have cash up front so they can spend that money, which is crazy given the fact that the amount of money they are still getting
I know.
initially. But he had done that to kind of get more revenue at first. He also owed $26,827 to Cairo Cuts, a celebrity barber shop in Milwaukee. He owes $21,505 to the Stott, a historic apartment building in Detroit, from a failure to pay rent. And he owes, maybe you can go check this guy out because he must be pretty good. He owes $34,390 to Dr. Hassan Al-Shahabi, a dentist in Minnesota.
Okay.
So if you need
Wow.
recommendations,
It's got to be grills. It's got to be grills. Like, honestly, though, what else could you get for $34,000 at a dentist?
Yeah. And the last debt to Dr. Al-Shahabi led to a court judgment to garnish Beasley's wages to satisfy the debt, indicating he perhaps did not have the $35,000 on hand to pay off the bill, despite earning $6 million with the Pistons last season.
Jesus. That's bad.
Yeah. So when you put all that together, I could see a guy who might be betting on some games.
Yeah. Yeah. When you hear about all the players who do that, what you talked about in the beginning, taking out the loan to get more money up front, it really, I think, makes you appreciate when you have an athlete who has a good head on their shoulders and kind of does the opposite. Like is it Gronkowski, who's never spent his salary and has only ever used like endorsements and signing bonuses and things like that. When you have players like that who whether it's them or they are lucky in the sense that they have good people around them that can kind of explain this to them and tell them, like, yeah, wouldn't it be great to get 10 million up front? But you know what's going to suck 5 years down the line when that 10 million is actually like 30 million you owe. Like, you're going to lose a shit ton of money off of this. Like, it's not worth it. Just wait 2 years and then buy a nice home. Like, collect the money if you have to. Like, don't try and cash out instantly. So it's very. I would like to see the percentage within the different sports, like how prevalent that is.
I guess NFL, like high pick NFL players, right, should hopefully not need to do that because they get
With
the
the
signing
signing
bonus.
bonus. Yeah.
So they should be fine. But I'm sure there's still some of them who do it because they'll say, oh, I know I got $4 million signing bonus, but I want to buy an $8 million house and I want to buy my parents a house and I want to buy everybody cars. And so, like I can see.
I want to Oprah this bitch.
because yeah, like, seriously, you'd hope you have a financial advisor who says, yeah, it would be cool to have $10 million in your bank account right now. But it also is really cool to be a 21-year-old earning $3.5 million this year, because that's a pretty elite club that you've put yourself in, irrespective of how much is actually sitting in your account. Maybe you can't buy that house right now. Buy it next contract. You'll get a nicer house. Like, it's crazy that the type of advice and the people obviously taking advantage of them around them. Because you're right, on the $35,000 dental deals, he must have private coverage. I mean, I think NBA players through the league get healthcare coverage, but what are you spending $35,000 on for dental care that isn't covered by your insurance?
No, I wasn't being a jerk. I think it has to be something
grills.
in the lines of like grills or something with like diamonds or gold or something
gold
like that.
teeth,
Like
diamond
yeah, there
things
has
in
to be
its
something
teeth.
there because like I can't even imagine if like a hockey player took a puck to the mouth and had to replace like 10 teeth that would even cost close to that. Like, unless he got his entire teeth just completely removed and new ones put in, I don't understand how it could cost that much without it being something like more extravagant.
I tried to quickly look up this dentist, but I've moved on from my notes where I had it. And in typing in the name, a gynecologist has come up instead. So I think that's probably not the right doctor.
Oh wait, maybe.
But yeah, no, it's really sad, right? Because it's easy to look at
Oh
it
yeah.
and kind of make fun of them, but the reality of thinking how much it must hurt to know that you've made $60 million and to have nothing, that must be such a painful. And again, even if someone could give you sound financial advice from that perspective of, hey, like this sucks, you're back to zero, but good news, you've got 6 years in your NBA career left. You're probably still going to make another $30 million. That still puts you in a really nice spot. So don't worry about it. Yeah, you could have had more, didn't work out. Life's still going to be great, but they won't even get that advice. And so then they will just keep digging deeper and deeper holes at a moment when it could just be like, oh, okay, I won't have the $20 million house, but I can have a $5 million house and still be retired at 35 with life looking pretty good. Any other sports news to cover?
Nothing else sports related. I watched a few things. So on my trip to LA, I watched Death of a Unicorn, which was Paul Rudd and oh Jesus, Jenna Ortega, and Will Poulter. It was okay. It was like an indie movie. It was kind of what I expected to be from the trailer, kind of quirky indie movie. It was decent. It was a good plane movie. I'll give it that. And on the way back, I finally watched the new Captain America: Brave New World. Uh, that was terrible. Like, and that's for me. I'm a pretty big Marvel fan in the sense that no matter how bad a Marvel show or movie is, I usually will watch it just because now I feel like I'm invested 15 years into watching Marvel that I have to keep going. Part of like when I won't stop watching a show, it's kind of this a larger version of that where I have to now keep watching everything Marvel related. But I hadn't watched it for a while because everyone had just said it was really, really bad. And it was as if they filmed parts of this movie and then kind of went back and were like, we have to film completely different parts and we're going to somehow cut and connect them into a cohesive movie. And it didn't really work. Like, I had no idea why people were doing what they were doing and like what the whole point was. It was not good. And Harrison Ford as a Red Hulk was just not something I was really interested in seeing.
As someone who's never dipped their toes into the Marvel universe, I'm very happy that I'm able to avoid the subpar Marvel
Yeah.
movies.
Now, I
So
will
that's
say
good.
though, Thunderbolts was the new one that came out. People have said that's actually pretty good. I'm going to go see that soon. And on the heels of that, I will also see the new Superman, which a lot of people have been saying is actually very good.
I will probably see the new Superman because, as you know, I'm not really into the dark, gritty superhero
We've
movies,
covered
and
this.
it's kind of nice to see that this Superman movie seems to be a little bit of a return to the sort of pre 2010.
More campy.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want, it's stupid and that's fine, but it's a guy in tights and a cape, and that's,
Yeah.
I don't need to. We don't need to take him too seriously. So that will be good. On my end, I started watching the new season of Always Sunny, which just started.
Season 37.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's fine. Like they still every once in a while, the premises are good. It's 2 episodes into the new season, and there's some good jokes, but they don't have their fastball anymore. Like it's been going on for too long, and I actually think they've lost through a couple of them having some plastic surgery done. They're just like they don't no longer look like the characters they're supposed to be, as in they're not believable anymore. I have people who
Of
just own a shitty dive bar in
yeah.
Philadelphia. Two of them in
Yeah.
particular.
Of low
As
level Philadelphians.
yes, like Charlie Day's still nailing it. He looks exactly the same. He's fine, but Rob Mack, as he's now supposed to be known,
Changed his name.
changed his name. Doesn't want it to be a big deal, but did make an announcement about it, but not a big deal. Uh, ultimately, Because what I hate about that is his idea of getting fat for the show was based on the idea that most sitcoms over time, the people become better looking. And he wanted to kind of go against the grain and just have himself get fat and ugly instead. That was a good commitment. And then, okay, the transformation of getting back into shape was impressive. But now you're just in really good shape. So you've ultimately done the thing you said you wanted to avoid doing in the first place. But yeah, it's decent. I've continued plugging along with Stick.
It's,
Uh,
you know what, Stick is a frustrating show because there are moments where Stick is actually good. And you watch it, you're like, oh, this is fun, or like, that was really funny, that was a good sequence. And then there are moments in Stick where you're like, what is this fucking shit that they're putting out here? It is slightly unfortunate.
and look, it's got a good enough cast that it should be good. There's a lot of people in the show who I do like, and it's fine. I think if you're going to throw it on for 30 minutes of sort of fairly pleasant, mind-numbing comedy, it's okay. It's not going to make you laugh very much, but it's like fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so still occasionally watching that. And other than that, TV. I did watch Friendship. Speaking of Paul Rudd, that movie
Yeah.
with. I don't know what to take away from that movie. I don't know. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I don't know if I hated it. It was kind of a weird experience.
With Tim Robinson.
Yeah, I don't know if it was supposed to be at all a comedy. I don't know if it was like it's basically as if they took a Tim Robinson character from his sketch show and stuck him into real life, and everyone else around him is normal, but he continues to be Tim Robinson. It's really a bizarre viewing experience because he is the only person in this universe who's kind of weird, and everything else, but like people are, and you don't know which bits of it. It's worth watching, but I don't know. I don't know what my real takeaways were.
Yeah. The other show that I actually watched, I got through pretty quickly, I caught up on, was Adolescence. So that was the 4-part show on Netflix that came out probably like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
With what the hell's his name? The main actor, Stephen Graham. Uh, it's very depressing. I don't think I watched it at the right moment in my life. It was like a little too depressing. Uh, it's really, really well done though. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't watched it. I think it's the way they did it. It's almost like a 4-act play where there's no scene change for each act. So each act is basically what they would call like a oneer. And it's just the real time, like 50 minutes within that day, just straight, and the camera never kind of leaves the scene or anything like that. So it's and I'd heard interviews of how they did it, and it sounds crazy how coordinated and choreographed it was to be able to do that. Like there are scenes where they're in a house and then they get into a car and then they're literally driving through the town to a police station, and it's all just continuing to be filmed in like a one shot frame. It's really cool, but it's kind of, it is depressing. I mean, there's no way around it. Like the story itself is depressing. The view it has on kind of how kids are growing up nowadays, and how influenced they are by so much different stuff than like when we grew up, and how different that is. It's kind of eye opening, I think. So it was very good. I suggest watching it. Maybe just kind of do it more in a happy time in your life.
Yeah, and obviously different for each of us without having children. I think it's a
Yeah,
slightly different
for
experience
sure.
if you have young kids. All right. Anything else to discuss?
I think that's about it for now. So I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.